Hello guys, welcome back to the next one. In this one, let's do a little bit more refactoring to our login page and some refactoring to our Selenium driver class also. We want to make it, obviously, we want to make it great. So let's bring up the PyCharm. So this is the Selenium driver class and this is login page. Now what we are doing is here, we are first finding the elements. Then we are using these elements in the methods that clicks on the elements or send some data to element. We can make it more simple. Remember we created the method called element click in the last class. So this is to click on element. Now let's create one more method which does send the data to element. So I'm gonna use the same format, copy it here and then change the name. So I will change it to send keys. So if you see carefully, I'm not using send underscore keys because I want to avoid conflicts from the default implementation of Selenium driver. If you see, this is the default implementation. That's why I'm carefully using these different cases because I don't want to conflict with that. Now when we use send keys, definitely we want to send some data. So other than locator and locator type, we want a data argument. So I'm going to say data, and instead of using element.click, I'm going to say element.send keys, and in this method we will provide data. And instead of saying click, we will say send data on this element, and here we will say cannot send data on this element, and let's break the line. So this is something that we created to send data, right? Send keys. This is our custom method. Now we can use these two methods here, and I'm going to show you a very interesting thing. What I'm doing right now eliminates the need of defining these methods. These methods are something we were using to get the element, return driver dot find element thing, right? We can just completely get rid of it and make our login page or our page class a little smaller with the help of our create framework, because we are putting everything here in a common place, and same thing we're going to use in every page class. So you might not realize at this moment because it's just one login page, but we may have like 10 or 20 page classes. It's gonna really make a big difference. So let's see. Click login link. We will say here, instead of first getting the element and dot click, we will say self dot element click. And if you see, everything is available here from Selenium driver class because we inherited Selenium driver class in login page. Please do remember to follow this step. You always need to inherit it. Otherwise, those functionality you will not see. Now, since we inherited, we see all the functionality. Let me just put it this way and let's try to see what it accepts. It accepts a locator and a locator type. So login link is, the locator is self dot login link, and the locator type is link text. So I'm just gonna say link here, and let's verify what kind of type does this method accept. So element click, go to here, this finds the element here, it provides the locator type to this method. So we will go to get element, and it finds the locator, it provides the locator type to get by type. So we will see the get by type, and this checks for these things, right? So ID, name, expat, CSS, class name, and link text. You know what? I'm gonna change these two to class instead of class name, and this to link instead of link text, because it's obvious we wanna provide small text from outside. So I'm gonna say link here, and this guy is enter email. So we will say self dot send keys, our custom method. Data, what does it take? If you see carefully, data, locator, and locator type. So data is email, locator is self dot email field, and locator type, because email field, if you remember, there was an ID, so we don't need to pass the locator type because of the optional parameter. Awesome Python things. This is already by default set to ID by us, so we don't need to provide that. Now if you see, can you see that, guys, how cool it becomes? We are just sending send keys, what data we want to send, and the locator of the element. We're not even finding the element in the page class. Everything is done. Everything is taken care for us in our framework, in our Selenium driver class. and we are just sending the locator and the data. It will find it for us. We are not even sending the locator type, if you carefully see, especially in the case of ID. In other cases we will send, definitely. Let's do the same thing for password. Self dot send keys, password is the data we want to send, and self dot password field, this is also an ID, so we don't want to send it. Now get login button dot click, so we will say element click, and login button was self dot login button, this is the locator, and we found it using name, if you remember. So self, no, not self, sorry, locator type equals to name, and we can just quickly verify it in the by type method. It's name only, so we can successfully provide name to this guy. Since we are just clicking elements, sending data to the element, and we are finding the element also inside our framework classes, like this class, we are doing get element, and then we are clicking the element. Here first we are doing get element, and then we are sending the data. Because of that reason, I can completely comment these methods out, or maybe delete them, but right now I'm commenting it so you guys still have them for reference, but we don't need them now. Now look at it, how neat and clean our page class looks. It is only click login link, click it, enter email, send data, enter password, send some data, click login button, click login button, click it, right? Then we have our main functionality. So these are the actions performed on the elements. Just understand the difference. These are the actions performed on the elements. And this guy, def login, this is the functionality. It wraps all the actions. We are trying to log in. So what does it do? It says click login link, then enter email, then enter password, then click login button. So it just completes the functionality. Let me go to Selenium driver class, and let me see if I want to make few more changes here. So I think it looks pretty neat and pretty nice. So is element present is fine. You know what, instead of saying by type in is element present, I would just make it similar to this guy, because we previously made it by type, just to show that we can do those things in multiple ways. But instead of again repeating this driver.find element, I will say locator type ID, and here I'll say self.get element, and this get element will take a locator, and it will take a locator type. So now it becomes more consistent. We're following the same thing. And this find elements, we cannot replace it right now because we don't have a get elements method, but we can actually just implement a similar method for get element. Like we have for get element, we can do one for get elements. In that we will just use find elements. So that's our framework right now. So you know what, I want to run our test case to make sure that the test case is still intact and it's running with the changes that we made in the framework. So what it should do is it should just go to the login page and login. Let me open terminal and try to run the test case. So py.test-s-v, the test case is under test home login test.py. So let's hit enter right now. It should bring up the browser, click login button, and then just login. And there you go, it logged in. I can go to PyCharm back, and let me just quit the browser quickly. And I want to show you a few things, the magic of our logging. The logging we did is, we clicked on element with locator, login, and locator type link. So we see what actually the Selenium driver is doing. Then again element found, we put it somewhere, we have put it. And then sent data on element with locator, user email, and the locator type was ID. Then again some element found, and then we say send data on element with locator, user, password, and locator type is ID. And then again element found, then clicked on element with locator, commit, and locator type was name, and then finally login successful. So this is the kind of logging that we are doing. Isn't that awesome? Really, when we debug our code and when we look it back, if some failure happens, we can easily look at the log statements and we can figure out what's happening. And somewhere, alrighty, so send data, somewhere I'm thinking we have element found. Yeah, this thing, we can improve this element found with locator. I'm gonna say with locator, and I'm gonna say locator here, and locator, we will say element found with locator and locator type. So the locator type is locator type. So now this statement would be a little better statement. It will tell us element found with what instead of just saying element found. So we just improved some logging. We can say the same thing here as well. I can just call this guy here instead of saying this. I'm just gonna say this thing, delete this, put it here, element not found with this locator and locator type. So that's about it. That's what I wanted to show you, and I just want you to download this whole code, utilize it, guys. I know you can even use it for your stuff, and it's a real great framework evolving out. Please use it, practice it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next lectures. Thanks for running this one.